What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NFL DFS show, week 4. John Impemba here with Howard Bender, getting you guys ready for another big NFL DFS weekend. Mr. Bender, we had a pretty good week 3. Lineups came out nice. Players we liked hit. How you feeling about everything, man?
Dude, I feel great right now. I really do. I'm not going to get all crazy braggadocious about it. But listen, we talked about, week 3 always being a big week for us. We've got some added data to everything, and we've come out really, really well. If you go back, go look at the DFS watch list, and I've posted what the top lineups were, in the article. And I got to tell you, man, I mean, it's like, I wish I had put this one together personally, but like, these were all like favorite plays of ours as we went through everything. Just DK, for example. Justin Herbert, Kenneth Walker, Raheem Mostert, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Adam Thielen, Sam Laporta, Miles Sanders, and the Cleveland Browns D. Now, maybe you went Sanders, maybe you didn't go Sanders because if you were putting this in as whatever cash game, you might not want to have stacked some Panthers here, right? But in a GPP, that's totally fine. You know what that lineup scored, John?
260.
John, I think that number is going to be a little bit higher. 270.3 DK points.
Yeah, listen, I know that our Discord was full of screenshots. We were getting tweets of guys that had some really high finishes. One of our longtime subscribers there was like a pivot or two off of maybe having the ultimate optimal there with his lineup that he scored. We had the cover of Kenneth Walker on the playbook right, and he had a monster game. We were big on him. Contrarian Corner and Value Vault videos had Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson on their covers. Obviously, they were huge. We all were in on the Minnesota and Chargers stack. That came through for everybody who played that here. I think the only thing that we probably weren't expecting, and how could you, was Devin A-Chain going for 45 fantasy points or whatever it was that he did there. But all in all, I mean, we hammered week 3, and week 4, we're ready to turn the page and do the same thing, Howard.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I mean, just, again, building momentum, gaining more data, more information, so I'm going to say it right now. This is definitely a tough week matchup wise. There's some fun stuff that's available to you, but overall, you can just take a look at some of the point spreads for these games. So we're expecting some tight competitive games, and that should spill off hopefully into the DFS world. So Let's get at it, baby. Come on.
Get to it. We got a lot to talk about here. We'll break down the DraftKings main slate right now. We have the Sunday morning game, obviously not on the main slate, but you have Jacksonville and Atlanta there. Howard, any quick thoughts before we jump into the main slate? Anything you want to talk about Jacksonville, Atlanta?
Dude, the Calvin Ridley revenge game narrative. Come on, front and center, baby. If you guys have listened to me on SiriusXM, read my article in the New York Post on Saturday. This is the ultimate revenge game narrative weekend where you could fill an entire DFS lineup and still have an extra player left over. So you got options for your flex, I guess,
right.
With that. But I mean, listen, I like both of these teams. I like Atlanta and I like Jacksonville. I will play Showdown, in the morning for that. Because I mean, listen, Bijan Robinson is an outright stud, and he just tears it up constantly. So I love me some Bijan. The Ridley revenge game you got to throw in there. I'm hoping for a bounce back from Trevor Lawrence. Yep. A lot of people. I mean, imagine being the fantasy owner who sat Trevor Lawrence for Jordan Love last night.
Right.
Because I got that question a buttload of times.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. I mean, I think that there are components to use for this game. If you want to play that Showdown slate right up there, maybe we'll get Dan Malin to do a Showdown right up for that one over at the site. Or maybe I'll put it together. Who knows? But either way, have a little fun with that morning game. It is early.
Yeah, I think we got 9 a.m. on the East Coast, so 6 a.m. for you on the West Coast there, Bender. So wake up, get your coffee, watch some football, nothing wrong with it. All right, main slate time. We got 12 games here to talk about. Quarterback position is where we're going to start this one here. Allen, Herbert, Hurst, You got Jackson, Tua, Cousins all over 7K here. Did the quarterback coach this week. I didn't mind this tier. There wasn't like a core like automatic play for me. I think obviously Herbert finds himself in a good spot against the Raiders. I do like Hurts against Washington. I haven't really made up my mind yet on which side of the Buffalo Miami game I want to go to. But that's kind of the three quarterbacks I've landed on, at least for the top tier here, Howard.
Yeah. Am I in the wrong room here, or is the Sunday night game on that slate too?
I don't have the Sunday night slate. I got the 425.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure. I don't know what tournament that was that
you got
I
the all day slate going on there.
I don't even know if it was the all day slate, but let me just kind of go in, and that way I can kind of get to it there, because I kept seeing Mahomes, and I'm like, well, Mahomes. What?
Mahomes versus Jets would be an auto play. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be there.
All right, so top tier, Justin Herbert, obviously my favorite out of the group there. You have to love Jalen Hurts. Not huge passing totals for him, not a lot of passing touchdowns, which is a little bit of a bummer. But the fact that he runs it in all the time,
right.
I don't give a crap if you want to call it the tush push, or if you want to call it the brotherly shove, or
the Philly push is what I call it.
Yeah, okay, but you got the Philly special, so I mean, how much credit are we going to give to the Eagles for crying out loud?
I mean, this is their play, right? At least for now, they didn't invent it, but they brought it to the NFL. So,
yeah. So Herbert's my favorite there. I will go Hurts. Allen, I don't mind Allen, but obviously, Miami's trying to carry in some momentum into that game, and Vic Fangio, always good at scheming. So. I think that at the top end there, I'm looking at Herbert, then Hurts.
Yeah, for Tua, I actually put him in the fade section of the QB coach this week. It's going to be a rather contrarian play, I think, because everybody's coming off of where the Miami offense has looked. Buffalo is missing some guys in the secondary, so maybe I go back and revisit that when we get a final injury report. Poyer got officially ruled out. I know White's a little bit banged up for them, but you look at the games where Tua went off, and it was against Denver and it was against the Chargers, facing New England defense, which is obviously pretty tough, and divisional opponent. They kind of know how to scheme against that offense, and Tua only had for 14 fantasy points, I think it was. Now he's on the road again in Buffalo, a team that should have good defense and knows how to play against him. I'm not sure if he pays off the price tag the way people are expecting, but it has a 54 game total, so one of the higher projected games on the board. But I didn't find myself really looking to go to Tua this week. I'm more in the Herbert Hurts range myself. In terms of rostership projections here, Anthony Richardson just got cleared, and he is the highest projected quarterback in terms of rostership this week. He had the 17 fantasy points in like 3 series against Houston before going down. Obviously had the big game in week 1. Are you riding the chalk here at Richardson against the Rams?
I mean, I'll consider him for a cash game play. I think it's there's obvious risk involved with it, but Jim Bob Cooter already said we're not changing anything about his game. We're not going to tell him to do something that he wouldn't normally do. This is the player we drafted, and therefore we're going to roll with him. So, there's obvious risk involved, but for 6,700 on DraftKings, is like a mid-tier price. I think that's I kind of like that, believe it or not. I like that more than I like the Cousins play against Carolina. I know you've got Cousins in the quarterback coach, but I mean, Carolina's secondary numbers are something to obviously focus on, because they've been a great pass defense. They've been so garbage against the run.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more so with Cousins, the volume. The identity of Minnesota is also to throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Carolina is the 32nd DVOA team against the run. Madison coming off of a 90-yard game last week, and now you have Cam Akers involved here as well, expected to be active this week. So you could see them still mix in the run, but Minnesota's defense is so bad that I feel like they're never going to be able to settle on just grinding down the clock. They're just going to constantly be in a spot where they have to throw. And then you also have to look at sort of the talent. I know Carolina has had some good numbers there against some decent passing offenses, with Geno Smith. And then week 1 was New Orleans. So then now they got to cover Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, right? That's a little bit of a different animal I think. So I'm willing to give Cousins a look in tournaments. Again, a spot where I don't think many people will go. The guy I want to trust, Howard, the guy I wish I could trust, the guy I'm probably going to be underweight on than I should be, is Joe Burrow. He has $6,500. This is the cheapest Joe Burrow would ever be if he wasn't dealing with the calf injury. It is the premium of premium spots, really, going up against Tennessee here and their terrible, terrible pass defense. With Jamar Chase coming off of a monster game. T. Higgins had it 2 weeks ago. It's not for the lack of throwing. Joe Burrow's had 49 and 41 pass attempts. But if he can't step in, if the calf's still a problem, if he has no mobility, then how productive can he really be here? I'm going to play Joe Burrow, but if he was healthy, he'd be in all three of my lineups that I play in the 3 max. He's probably only going to make one of the 3 this week for me. I just can't ignore this price point for him.
Yeah, no, you definitely can't ignore the price. This is either going to be like the great bargain of the week that everybody should have invested in, or it's going to turn out to be like the biggest, catfish move by DK for pricing him down where they're pricing him. But, I watched the Monday night game. The quick release is great. The thing about it is, and something that I'm sure Tennessee will at least try to focus on, as bad as their secondary is that when Burrow doesn't have time in the pocket because he needs to release the ball quickly, his first look is Jamar Chase. And that's it. And, if you want Joe Burrow to be delayed as far as where he goes with the football, you could just, make sure that you're double teaming Chase, triple teaming Chase. And then that at least forces Burrow to take at least the extra second to go find his secondary target. Coop was spouting off about some nonsense stats about first looks and stuff like that. And
sure.
I was like, yeah, it's, so the number one receiver is usually the first look. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate the obvious stat. Right. Thank you so much for that one.
Sometimes I feel like an old man when it comes to these sports, because I'm just like watching the game, and I'm like, and like, oh yeah, like obviously the defensive matchups make sense and all these things, but I don't go overly analytical with the new age computer generated model stats that they have out there. And I understand that that's the way the games are going these days with how decisions are being made. But, I just look at the game and I say, oh, like every team is throwing for 300 yards against Tennessee Titans. I am sure that the number one wide receiver will have success or whatever here.
Yeah, but see, you're not wrong. Like, that's the thing. Like, football is about matchups, and again, year-to-year data doesn't work because there's so much player movement. Like, year-to-year data and strong statistical data works great for baseball. Baseball's all about numbers, and it's all about pitcher versus batter. That's really what it comes down to. Yes, you can throw in some defensive metrics and things like that, but when it comes to football, there's so many injuries prevalent. There's so much player movement. There's so much coaching movement. So many schemes change, on the regular. Not to mention the fact that it's all very, it's all based on matchups by the coaches too. So a coach who, is like living in cover 2, throughout, his career and whatever. And all of a sudden he realizes that the personnel that he's got is much better for press man coverage. He's going to make that mid-season flip. And, you can talk about these, these new age statistics all you want. They're not, they're not going to catch up in time, and you're not going to have enough data to really make these statistics. It's like looking at DVOA 2 weeks into the season. It's not a great stat 2 weeks into the season. 4 or 5 weeks into the season, it's much better, much better. But so I feel like that's kind of where we're at with these, like the new age stats. And while you feel like an old man, embrace it. Embrace your elderly behavior.
Right. I'll say the one big worry I have with Burrow, obviously, is the mobility with the calf injury, because the one thing that Tennessee does have on their defensive line is Jeffrey Simmons and Cordell Volson, the guard for the Bengals. Pro Football Focus gave him a 0.0 grade on Monday night against Aaron Donald. So, sure, is Jeffrey Simmons Aaron Donald level? No, but he's damn good. And if they can't block that man, then Joe Burrow's going to be pressured, stuck in the pocket because he can't move around. And then maybe that causes some issues. But I am definitely in on Burrow at 65. And then the cover of my quarterback coach this week was Russell Wilson. I know a lot of people are going to look at this Fields-Wilson matchup. Two defenses, one ranks 32nd, one ranks 31st in DVOA against the pass. One team just gave up 70 points to the opposing team, and the other one hasn't stopped the leak. So, for me, I'm going with Wilson. I think he's as the more polished passer. I think there's higher upside for him than Fields, who has really struggled in that offense. So I'm going Wilson at 58 this week as a cover boy for the QB coach.
I love Wilson as especially over Fields. Like Fields has the rushing upside, and maybe he takes off a little bit more because Denver's run defense is a little soft and squishy. But the problem for me, very similar with Chicago as it is with the New York Jets. You've got Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator. And where was Getsy beforehand? He was the quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers the last couple of seasons. So, yes, it's another one of these guys where Aaron Rodgers is like, yeah, dude, go stand over on the sidelines there. Let me do my thing. Right. And now this guy is now supposed to be running this offense, and he wants to turn Fields into a totally different quarterback that he's not prepared to deal with. So too many struggles over there. I love the Wilson call. I'm all in on Courtland Sutton. Judy looks good. He looked great in this past week. So, yeah, I'm definitely I'm digging on the on Denver for this week. I also like Stafford. I don't mind Stafford against the Colts. It's a weak secondary, and he's got the weaponry, right? He's got Puka Nacua. He's got Kyron Williams, who can catch the passes out of the flat. Tutu Atwell is going to be a solid guy. So I don't mind Stafford either.
Yeah, the offensive line for the Rams was at least a very big problem against Cincinnati. I mean, they had zero chance of stopping Hutchinson. He was just in the backfield the entire game, it felt like. So not that Indy has the same pass rush as they did way back in the day, but if Stafford can't be given time, going to be some problems. Obviously, San Francisco, tough defensive matchup, not going to hold the 2 interceptions against him. But now 2 touchdowns and 4 picks over the last 2 weeks is not the ratio.
No, that's what I said. For. I was like averaging 303 passing yards per game is great. 4 picks to 2 touchdowns is not
good. Anybody else here? I mean, Stroud has kind of looked pretty impressive as a rookie off the gate at home against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh secondary and defensive line's pretty good. We could have somebody Jimmy G is still in concussion protocol. If it's Aiden O'Connell or Brian Hoyer, would you throw any darts here against the Chargers? I mean, anything gross like that for you is like a total dart play?
I'll say this. If Jimmy G plays, I'll throw him into a GPP lineup. 100%. If it's Brian Hoyer, I will use him in a GPP lineup because Hoyer knows. Listen, Hoyer's been with McDaniels for how long? He knows the offense. He knows the verbiage. He's got the arm to go deep. It's not great, but it's such a complex offense that Josh McDaniels runs that I don't know if Aiden O'Connell would be ready for it. If they turned around and told me that Aiden O'Connell was going to start, I would actually ignore it altogether. And obviously I would cut Devontae Adams out.
Sure.
But if it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Brian Hoyer, yes, Chargers suck at coverage. They've got they've got the pass rush with Bosa, which is great, but you can neutralize a pass rush very, very easily. And, so I'm kind of on that front there. I did see that you had Andy Dalton sitting in your quarterback coach as a bargain play.
You're going to have to pivot that off now.
You're going to have to move off of that. And I'm not going to Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to.
Yeah, not great for Bryce Young at all. No mobility for him, which kind of sucks as well. Love that he threw 33 and 38 times, but 33 attempts for 153 yards, 38 attempts for 146 yards are not, did Carolina make the right pick? With the way the quarterbacks behind them are all playing right now. I mean, that's a tough way that's going to be a tough GM swallow there if Stroud and and Richardson can continue to play the way that they're playing right now. So
yeah, well, listen, I'm pretty. I know I said it. I don't know if you said it, but I'm pretty sure we were all in on Stroud as the top QB in the draft long term, and Bryce Young was, just
he's 5'5". How is he supposed to be a good quarterback in the NFL?
We represent the Lollipop Guild. The Lollipop Guild.
Not great. Not everybody's Drew Brees, running back position here. CMC obviously was leading the way early on, but if Austin Eckler is active this week, you're getting a discount. He's as effective. We know Michael Williams, see how that changes. Maybe any sort of game planning for the Chargers here. I still like McCaffrey, but
I don't think there's a game plan change for the Chargers. As great as Mike Williams is, Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnson, 161, 164, you don't have to change anything up.
Sure.
Right? I actually think Johnston fits the Mike Williams role better than Palmer does. Palmer did great when he was filling in for Keenan Allen. He was okay when he filled in for Mike Williams, but I don't think the game plan changes too much.
Sure. Yeah, and you're probably not wrong about that. We saw Eckler really take off when Keenan Allen was missing some games because he's that underneath, easy bailout guy, and obviously not going to be the downfield option. But in week one, Eckler was everything that us Eckler truthers had hoped he was. Howard, 29.4 fantasy points for Austin Eckler there in week one against Miami. Las Vegas is just as bad against the run. So totally fine going to either of the top two here. If there's no Garoppolo, do you think we get more Josh Jacobs this week against a bad Chargers run defense?
I definitely do. Now, Jacobs has not been, he actually had a decent game this last one out, but week two was just an outright disaster for him. But, you're expecting that from Jacobs at this point because that's what happens when you hold out. I said this to so many people on Twitter. I'm like, well, what did you expect from a guy who missed all of training camp?
He was on the beach. He was literally on the beach.
And not doing like that Rocky Apollo Creed running. No, he was like hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like him for this week because the Chargers are super, super soft on that front there. So, listen, McCaffrey is an easy play here if you can afford it. Eckler, I do think also is a fairly easy play if you can afford that. So I like the Jacobs call there. And then, let's kind of move down. Are you going with Raheem Mostert and or Devon Achane? I gotta make sure I pronounce it properly. Achane.
I don't think I am outside of just pure game stack exposure to that one. Again, Buffalo's run defense, I think, is pretty good. I understand why Mostert's having a lot of his success on the year, because teams are focusing so heavily on stopping the pass that it's just leaving them a little bit softer when it comes to running the football. But no, I don't think Mostert's where I'm looking to go here. I didn't love a lot of the mid-tier. The chalk play so far, at least in terms of rostership this week, is Kyren Williams. He's the highest projected rostered running back this week at $6,000. If it had been that we didn't have Anthony Richardson back, I would have gone back to Zach Moss here as well. I still think Zach Moss is a viable play, but obviously the running quarterback changes a little bit more than if it was Gardner Minshew there under center.
Why are you the only one who has brought that up? Every time I talk to somebody, they mention Zach Moss and that he plays every snap. And yeah, I get that he plays every snap, but you can't tell me that, Zach Moss with Anthony Richardson is as effective as Zach Moss with Gardner Minshew.
Anthony Richardson had 2 rushing touchdowns in the game, and then he got hurt, and then Gardner Minshew came in, and Zach Moss has been a beast for the last 2 weeks. So
you're literally the only one. I want to reach out. I just want to hug you, buddy.
You know why, Howard? Because it's that old school watching football mentality.
Oh yeah, watching football actually matters.
Yeah, that's really. I think that's what it is here. Again, I don't. If you want to play Moss, it's just fine. But I don't think he's going to go for 30 fantasy points again. That's just
no. I don't either.
It's the way I'm believing. So Kyron's where your chalk is here. The Minnesota thing is kind of frustrating because I actually would have played Alexander Madison this week, but now that Cam Akers is active, Not really sure what to do. And Akers is only $4,900 while Madison is $5,800. So if you're a believer that this is going to be a timeshare, then maybe Akers is the better bet this week. But, I don't know how to read into their usage of Cam Akers this week.
Considering the price tag, would you consider rostering both of them? Or is it because Minnesota is so much more of a passing team that you wouldn't do that? Would that be like a contrarian move for you?
No. So I'm not going to listen. We joked about the winning lineups and some of the GVPs last week played both Mostert and A-Chain. That was just guy shot the moon there. I don't see a scenario where Madison and Akers both come out and are good enough to win you a tournament, because I do think that there are other guys in spots this week that could be productive at those price points. So you want to take a shot on one of them and hope that they're the guy that scores a touchdown and gets like 50 yards. Great. I think that's probably what a ceiling could look like for them in this game. Unless Minnesota really changes their script or Akers or Madison have a big, breakout run. But I mean, DeAndre Swift is only $5,700. I know it's the Washington defense here, but guys had 175 and 130 rushing yards the last two games. Difficult for me under 6K to not want to keep kind of giving him a look if he's the main back in that offense for Philly. They have an elite offensive line. Teams are worried about Hurts all the time. Sure, he might miss out on a touchdown here or there, but he does have a score in week 2. And Miles Sanders had 13 touchdowns last year, so it's not like the running back in this offense can't be productive. So I like the price point on Swift a lot here. Javonte Williams is a guy I'm willing to go back to the well and maybe throw a little bit of a dart here.
What about Miles Sanders at all? Any interest there? I mean, I know he's banged up and he's questionable.
My problem is, so this is going to be one of those spots where it's like, what wins over? Is it a bad Carolina offensive line versus for the run, or is it going to be Minnesota's bad defensive line and run defense here? Because like Carolina, I don't think can run the football. Their offensive line, I don't think is good enough to do that. And you've seen sort of Sanders struggle against some teams that, Seattle, we didn't think of them having a great run defense, 9 for 24. You mentioned he got a little bit banged up. New Orleans, you can't run against 3.1 yards per carry. Atlanta's turning into seemingly having an okay defense. He had 4 yards per carry. His fantasy points has to come in the pass game. So if Bryce Young is going to check down to him, then sure, I can get behind it. But I don't think he's going to have success on the ground in this game.
Okay. All right. Listen, I got you. Before we go further down on the list here, just two players that, we kind of bypassed that I'm curious as to your thoughts. Number one, we know that Dallas's run defense is a little on the soft side. You've got Ramondre Stevenson, or are you a little nervous that Belichick will be, you know what? Let's give Zeke those goal line carries. Let's let him have his revenge game narrative. So Stevenson / Zeke versus Dallas. And then any thoughts at all about Alvin Kamara and his big return?
I wish it was Derek Carr, not Jameis Winston. Winston throws downfield. Derek Carr checks down. We saw that when Winston was the quarterback last year for a little bit. He really didn't throw the football to Alvin Kamara at all. So I don't mind Kamara because there's nobody behind him. Like, I think we saw enough of Tony Jones to know he's not the guy. And Kendrick Miller's a rookie, and they kind of have matching skill sets, so I don't think he's going to get much look at Kamara. So from a volume standpoint, I would assume you'll see Kamara on the field a lot in this game. But Tampa Bay's run defense, it's supposed to be better. Again, the Eagles just ran all over them, but they're supposed to have a decent run defense. So at $6,100, I think I'd find the money for James Cook over Kamara if I could. I think James Cook is in a pretty interesting spot this week. The usage for him has been great. Using some targets in the passing game, obviously getting all the running work here. I know red zone, he comes out and they have like Lat Murray or Damian Harris or whatever, keeping some people down. But I could see Buffalo looking to him a little bit more here against Miami this week. So I think I would rather find some money to play him over Kamara. And then the Stevenson thing, living in Boston, we listen to Boston radio. They've had a couple of beat writers come on here and they've discussed, what's going on with Ramondre. Why is he kind of struggling to begin the year? What's the deal? And they basically both attributed to two different team reporters that right now it's basically an every other series split with Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson. And Stevenson is just slower to get going at this point here. And they're not really allowing him to get hot, get the first couple series under his belt, and then kind of see where Zeke's at and go at a hot hand. They're kind of riding out Ezekiel Elliott, who's just as good in pass protection. He's just as good of a wide receiver as Ramondre Stevenson is. So, the biggest worry when they brought in Elliott, for those who had Ramondre Stevenson, is there's not a huge difference between the players, right? Like the one's not a very clear and obvious, third down back. They both are heavy backs that can break tackles and get red zone work. And last week, Elliott averaged over 5 yards a carry, in that game against the Jets there. I do think that Belichick knows the importance of this game for Elliott as well. So I would rather give Zeke a look this week than Ramondre Stevenson.
Beautiful. All right. Further down the list then we go. Anybody super deep bargains that you're looking at?
Again, I mentioned Cam Akers. I think it's worthy of some consideration this week just because he said he's active, but there really wasn't much else for me down here that I was looking at. I'm not going to do any of the Baltimore running backs. It is a good spot for Dameon Pierce, but I can't trust Dameon Pierce at all. I would be happy if Dameon Pierce had a good week, so I could think maybe they're building off of something for future spots here, but nothing I'm going to put in a lineup. I'm not going to play Jalen Warren. Ford got lucky last week. We were anti-Ford. 1.8 yards per carry, but he got 2 touchdowns. So, we got trolled a little bit that we were wrong on sitting Ford in some chats, but I mean, we weren't wrong.
We weren't wrong. It was a receiving touchdown. Then he had a short yardage rushing touchdown, but his overall production was not strong. Right. That's the problem. Like, everybody just sees the touchdowns and doesn't understand how fluky touchdowns really are.
Right.
And so I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Couple of names. Let me see. I mean, no interest in Khalil Herbert, correct?
None for me. I'd be more apt to play Najee Harris this week.
What about Samaje Perine? I actually don't hate Najee this week against Houston. Samaje Perine against Chicago. He's got a strong share. I prefer Javonte Williams, but Perine, it's no sleeper that Perine, no secret that Perine he's poaching both touches, both carries and targets right now.
Yeah, the weird thing is he's getting the snaps, but look at them. He's getting 40% of the offensive snap share, but 3 carries, 3 targets, 1 carry, 4 targets. So he's on the field. I think just the block. I think he's out there to pass pro. At this point, maybe they don't want Javonte Williams to pass block because of the knee. They want to give him a little bit more of a break on those. So I still go Javonte Williams here because he's getting the targets and the carries, and you can run on Chicago. If there was ever a week for the 60-40 break and not the 50-50 break, I would hope it would be this week, because once Javonte Williams gets sort of the chain taken off of him, $5,500, he should be $6,500, right? At least that's my perspective in this offense. So I would rather go Williams at 55 at the mid-tier. Again, teams love to run on Houston. We saw that with ETN last week. Houston's secondary, that was a trend last year too. We kept on being like, Houston's 32nd against the run, but they're 10th against the pass. And we're like, that's because teams don't pass against them. They only run against them. Well, teams aren't passing against them, maybe because they couldn't pass against them. It wasn't just that they were opting to run against them. And so far, the passing numbers against Houston, they've held up pretty good here. So I think Najee Harris, as bad as he has been, love they got the 20 carries against the Raiders last week. That means the volume's still his. So maybe we get a little Najee this week here.
Okay, last one. Here you go. Just for GPP only. Elijah Mitchell against Arizona. Mop-up duty in the second half. Plus, just some regular work as well that he could end up getting.
Yeah, listen, we got, we didn't get Shanahan in the fullest sense last week. They had the short week and they said, maybe CMC will see a little bit of less work and Elijah Mitchell will get some more opportunities. And he did. He got 11 carries, 42 yards. He got 3 targets, got you 7 fantasy points. They were up big in that game and he got some work. I don't like that we need him to be uber efficient in the work that he's going to get, because this could just be his max involvement, even in a game where they're up big here. And now they're not on the short week. They're actually on a longer week. So I worry a little bit about that. But yeah, if you want to, if you're making a lineup and want to be different, I don't think it's impossible for him to go 10 for 50, and then maybe he finds the end zone. But CMC is where I'm putting my horse this week.
All right. Well, then I'm done with the running back position. Give me your two favorites. Who do you like in the most? One pay up, one pay down.
Yeah.
Or are you doing like two like mid-tier guys?
I've fooled around a couple of different builds. I'll put in Christian McCaffrey in a lot of lineups this week. I think he's like one of my favorite overall spend ups on the entire slate here. Kyron Williams in the mid-tier has been in lineups, and I've played around with Javonte Williams and Najee Harris as well. So, I'll see how we finalize them, because there is a lot of value that are 5K plays, in that 5 to 6 upper 5s, lower 6Ks that I think you can get to, because the wide receivers have some elite plays as well. Jefferson's 96, Tyreek Hill's 92. If Devontae Adams at 8K is a free play, if Garoppolo's playing, for sure. We'll have to see if he can get out of that concussion protocol, but man's averaging 26 fantasy points a game at 8K. Keenan Allen went for 200 yards receiving last week. He's 79. Jamar Chase has one of the best matchups overall on the board at 78, coming off of a monster game here. So, there's a lot of great spend-up wide receiver options this week.
There are a lot of great spend-up wide receiver options this week, no doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, geez. I mean, you just kind of rattled them off right there. I mean,
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but it's just
Yeah, I'm sure Jefferson, Hill, and Diggs will go big, but I agree with you. I like Adams, I like Allen, I like Chase, and we'll go from there. Moving further down. Not touching Mike Evans in his fight with Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah. I was trying to see if there's a betting prop somewhere and who would get ejected in this game. I can't find one.
I mean, some of the mid-tier action there. I mean, AJ Brown, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, obviously all possibilities. None of them are really popping all that much for me right now.
Yeah, your highest rostered mid-tier plays this week. As of right now, again, Friday afternoon, it's Puka Nacua at $6,700 and Jacoby Myers at $5,500, both around 20%.
Okay. All right. Good. I need to see what's going on with Deshaun Watson before I can start looking at Amari Cooper now. That was kind of a bummer, man. I was like all set to lock Cooper into my lineups.
Yeah, probably would have been a pretty good cash play this week. Amari Cooper at $6,100 here. Jerry Jeudy popping up on this? Just limited, probably. Okay. Because again, I think Jeudy and Sutton's free again. I don't know why they keep doing it to us here, Howard, but we're going to keep playing. I'm going to keep playing a $5,300 Courtland Sutton.
Dude,
I don't know.
Every single time. You're just going to keep giving me that? I mean, the dude he's led the team in targets each of the first 3 games. Had 11 targets last week.
I don't get the price point. He had 91 yards and a score last week, 21 fantasy points. They bumped him $200. So I'm in. Courtland Sutton is one of my core plays this week.
Yeah, I love it. He's on the cover of the watch list for a reason.
Yep. I think Michael Thomas at 52 against Tampa Bay is kind of interesting. Again, we saw A.J. Brown sort of just muscle around that Tampa Bay secondary last week. I think Thomas could be in the same spot here against Tampa Bay. And, we know that Jameis Winston, just for all costs, throws the football downfield, closes his eyes and chucks it. So MT's in a pretty good spot. Are you going back to last week's darling Tank Dell? I had to talk you into him, Howard, and glad I did.
You did have to talk me into it. I'm very glad that you did as well. I mean, listen, what's his price tag right now?
46. $1,000 price bump from last week.
Yeah. I mean, the higher he goes up, the harder it's going to be to, kind of invest. But at that price range, I was kind of looking at Adam Thielen, but if Bryce Young is there, I don't necessarily know if I want to do that. Tank Dell's in a good spot, but this is a tougher Pittsburgh defense. Now, I know you like Pittsburgh's defense at home more than you like them on the road.
Generally.
But, yeah, I mean,
Myers and Devontae Adams just had no problem against Pittsburgh.
So I can't hate on the Tank Dell play. I certainly can't.
Yeah, again, bit more of obviously a tournament play. I'm not putting him in cash, because of just sort of the big play ability that he brings to the table. And we saw last week, and this was something that Coop brought up on the Wednesday Quickout show. Nico Collins was actually coming off the field. It was Robert Woods and it was Tank Dell staying on the field when they went to those 2 wide receiver sets. So, it's Tank Dell is on the field and making some plays. I'll still play Adam Thielen. Obviously, I was a bit enamored more by the 58 pass attempts that Andy Dalton attempted last week. But Adam Thielen still had a really good week too with Bryce Young as his quarterback there. So willing to give that a look. Palmer 4K is a chalky play this week, obviously against Las Vegas, but I would imagine you'd be willing to throw some darts at Marvin Mims and Quentin Johnson this week too at 39 and 37.
Yeah. Oh, I would definitely be willing to throw some darts at those guys. No doubt about it. I think that there's that's the thing. You're looking at the wide receiver position, and while, yeah, I mean, you're going to want to try and, find a way to get like an Adams or a Chase or an Allen in there. There is so much value at the bottom end of the wide receiver position that, for those dart throws that we're going to have, this could be a very flush dartboard this week.
Yes. And this is one of the reasons why I've been getting to a lot of Christian McCaffrey too, because I think you can spend up for one of the running backs here because I'm playing the mid-tier quarterbacks. And there's enough value at the wide receiver position. Mentioned Sutton is one of them. Thomas is one of them. Tank Dell. There's enough here where you can go one spend up running back, one spend up wide receiver, and then live in the value at the other the other spots here. Any other wide receivers for you maybe taking a peek at here?
I'm scrolling through as I'm looking at names here, and I feel like you nailed it. A lot of people are flocking over to Josh Downs. But again, are those targets related to Gardner Minshew, or are they related to just in general him being good? I don't really have anybody who's like filthy, dirty, deep play here. So no, I'm ready to move tight ends. Unless you've got somebody.
No, not really.
Who do you have?
Well, it's not really anybody that I have here. I'm just kind of scrolling around and seeing what could be. I mean, Allen Robinson is questionable here. Calvin Austin maybe is a $3,300. Had the touchdown last week. Still had 6 targets. I mean, 6, 4, 6 are his targets the first 3 weeks of the season. So he's out there. Just a cheapy guy. If Allen Robinson's out, I mean, that's just another wide receiver that gets taken off the field, and you got to, George Pickens and Calvin Austin could be the 2 guys there for Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's fine. Listen, I think I had Calvin Austin. I have him as a dart throw last week.
Well, that paid off if you did, because he scored the touchdown.
Oh, no, I don't think I did. Then I think I had him like the week, but yeah, I had him the week before, and I didn't.
You probably had him after the Deontay Johnson injury because many expected him to step up, and that offense just did nothing in week 2, so it wasn't really anything going there.
Maybe it was
tight end position. I've been playing a lot of Kittle. If Deebo Samuel's out, I go Kittle. I think 100%.
Yeah, did you see Coop's write-up over the last 8 games against Arizona? George Kittle is averaging 15.1 DK points per game. The one time he went under double digits, he had 9.3 DK points because he got hurt in that game and left early. But last 8 games against Arizona, bing, he is he's there. So yeah, I definitely I dig that 100%. Totally fine with it. Love it. Lock him in. Booyah.
After that, there wasn't another tight end that I really cared about.
Not really.
I know Coop as the QB tight end coach. Usually I just kind of follow that here. I mean, there are obviously other guys on the slate, but he was just kind of the one I kept locking in being my core play here. What else are you looking at for tight end this week?
All right. Well, I'm eyeballing Gerald Everett, but with Donald Parham also getting all of those red zone looks every single time they're down there, that kind of takes him off. I do like Freiermuth this week.
Okay.
I think Freiermuth is actually a very intriguing play. Houston soft against the tight end. Freiermuth has he's got that big bodied, positioning. And so hopefully, if he can get into the end zone, we need him to get more red zone looks. He's fine between the 20s. We need him to get more red zone looks, but I'm not going to look away from him at all.
Okay.
Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
What?
We said Logan Thomas at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Logan Thomas, definitely. I had to change out of the watch list. I pushed Cole Turner out, and Logan Thomas is definitely there. Chigakonkwo comes up a little bit, kind of on the interesting side. Not great, but kind of the way to do it. But yeah, overall, this is not like, and I've tried to like encourage people to stop thinking like this is 2016 where you can just kind of pop in tight ends here and there. The position is changing over time. And so you have to really look at who's getting those targets. And there really is no like, oh, this team is the worst against the tight end. Let me just keep targeting against them.
Yeah. At least not yet. Obviously, there's still more data to be
sure.
Yeah, it says right here, in terms of points allowed per position, Philly's allowing the most of the tight end position. Philly's also got a really good defense. So I don't know if I trust that to be a consistent week over week end of season finish here, but for the first couple of weeks, maybe we do like Thomas here. I know Durham Smythe, Coop has talked about it. He got hurt last week, so his numbers in production were down, but he should go back to playing a lot of the snaps this week, so he could be a dart throw, potentially at 3K. I think Gesicki could be a dart throw at 28.
Didn't we hear that? We heard the Gesicki nonsense last week too.
Yeah, but I would still give him a consideration, just a different defense. The Jets didn't make them throw the football. So, and Pharaoh Brown got the 85-yard touchdown. Go figure.
Good old Pharaoh Brown.
Old Pharaoh Brown here. So, all right. So that's the tight end position again. Check out Coop's tight end coach for more breakdown there. To me, it was just kind of Kittle or Logan Thomas probably. I don't mind the Freiermuth call there, though. And Chig is interesting. If Treylon Burks doesn't play, Chigakonkwo is pretty interesting here. Defense. What are we doing here, Howard? Are we just spending up for the 49ers or?
I mean, the 49ers at 4,700 is a solid play. The problem is that as I looked further down, like it's so tough. I start at the bottom and then I work my way up.
Yeah.
And I don't love any of these. Like, I don't love Washington against Philly. Carolina, the Dolphins against Buffalo. I don't want to touch that. Don't talk to me about the Bears defense. Don't talk to me about the Bills. I mean, I like the Bills, but it's a bad matchup against Miami.
Yeah, Bills, big week last week.
I don't hate the Browns, but obviously you worry about division rivals. You worry about Lamar Jackson and him, firing on all cylinders, even though that the Browns are good. So like it's a possibility.
I like the opposite side of that, actually.
You like the Ravens.
Yeah, even if Deshaun Watson was playing, I kind of thought this could be a week for the Ravens here because, again, we've really seen Watson struggle for a lot of this year. Now, last week against Tennessee, we told you, play him on all cylinders. Like, Tennessee's foolproof. You can play wherever you want. But divisional matchup, tough defense here. I would have thought that Baltimore would get up for this one. And Watson has looked rather shaky. Now, if it's, what is it, Dorian Thompson, whatever his name is, right?
Insert irrelevant name here.
Right. If that's who it's going to be, a guy that people liked in the preseason, well, yes, I think Baltimore is an interesting spot here at 32, even though they're going to be on the road.
Yeah. All right. So, you immediately jumped up there, which means you say nothing about the Colts, the Texans, the Patriots, the Rams, or the Chargers, which I'm fine with not saying anything about any of those teams. This is definitely a tough one. You could look to, go contrarian and go with Denver because Chicago has looked so inept, but sure. I don't think that's something anybody's going to trust.
No, I mean, listen, Cincinnati's defense looked really good getting after the quarterback last week. Obviously turned the ball over Matthew Stafford twice. So again, Bengals on the road. I could see that happening here against Tennessee.
Okay. And then the 49ers.
And the 49ers. Yeah, I mean, Philly, obviously, if you want to go there, we just saw what Buffalo did to Washington last week. Certainly can.
Oh, my God, dude. Sam Howell looked so bad.
Yeah, it's not good. He's not good. So I think that's where I would go. I don't know what to do with Dallas. Again, I don't think New England's offense is that great, but I think that they're, I don't know if they're going to turn the ball over enough to make the Cowboys pop at their price tag. So that's kind of where I'm at with that team there. So a couple minutes left here, Howard. Let's build a lineup. You got one built for us here? We're going to go and do it ourselves.
I do. You know I do.
I know. What do we got?
Throw Russell Wilson up top there.
Love it.
Go ahead. I know you do. I'm here for you, Johnny.
I'll plug Sutton in now because I'm sure he's in that lineup.
Oh, what are you, yo? Spoiler alert! Come
All right,
on.
so we got Wilson and Sutton. Where are we going at running back?
Well, you said you enjoyed Dr. McCaffrey, I presume.
I do.
All right. I'll give you your choice here. You can either go with Najee Harris, or you can stack it up with I believe you like Javonte Williams at a similar price point.
I do like Javonte Williams.
Do you want to go full Denver stack, or do you want to go contrarian with Najee?
Let's go Najee Harris here. I
Okay.
think this is going to be the week for him.
All right. Get yourself some Jacoby Myers.
55.
PPR deliciousness.
Where do we go with defense?
Oh, we went 49ers, dude.
Okay. Just seeing if we were saving any cash there. Tight end?
Kittle, dude. Come on. We ain't saving nothing. We're
All right.
spending it all.
We got 4450 for a wide receiver and a flex.
All right. Well, while everybody's in New England is looking at Tony Pollard and looking at our good friend CeeDee Lamb, let's go revenge game narrative with one Brandon Cooks.
All right. 4K flex.
Oh yeah. Well, you got two options here. Both come from the Chargers. You want to go Joshua Palmer at 4, or do you want to go Quentin Johnston at 37?
We'll go safe. We got enough risks here. We'll go a floor play here with Palmer. I like that.
There you go.
Got a little San Francisco stack. Got Cooks, Myers, Sutton, Harris, McCaffrey, Wilson, Kittle, Palmer, 49ers defense. That's good. I can get behind it.
All right.
I think I can do it.
Well, I got to tell you, man, last week, that one that we put together, I think it was Javonte Williams, and then there was a receiver that if we just swapped out that receiver for Adam Thielen, who was in the playbook,
yeah,
and a comparably priced running back, not Javonte, I think it was Miles Sanders was like right around that same price point there as well. Then that fucking lineup that we put together last week was tight.
Yeah, dude, Adam Thielen was so close to the pivot for a lot of plays that we liked last week. And I think we had Thielen, or we liked Thielen in that spot. I played him in the underdog picks video. Had him in the contrarian play video as well.
Dude, I had him in the example lineups that I posted last week's DK GPP example lineup scored 211 points.
Yeah. Huge week.
No,
and we're going to do it again.
No optimizer, no lineup generator, strictly going in there, playbook only, booyah, example lineups.
Love it. So that's our look again, example lineup for week 4. Howard will have the official example lineups on Sunday. Dartboard and playbook are out on Saturday. Contrarian corner and value video will be out on Friday. You're watching this on Friday, so they'll be out on Friday here. Check that on the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel as well. We'll have DFS pick'em plays available. We'll have the best bets available. We'll have live streams 9 a.m. on Sunday on the YouTube channel. Then you go over at 10 a.m. to SiriusXM, listen to Howard and Coop, and then come back to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel at 11 o'clock, myself and Andrew Cooper, taking you till noon time Eastern, getting you guys ready for week 4. Good luck, everybody, this week. Howard and I will be back next week. We'll talk to you later.